Carry the mail to the Ashaw Valley.
Yeah.
I got that in.
It's not
Not appropriate.
not for mixed company. But I've known Loran for 50 years. I joined the reserves here in Alameda in '71. He's one of the first people I met, I believe. Let me think here. Jack Vernon was the CO. Duff Lundy was the XO, and I think Loran was the OPSO. But whatever. But eventually he took over the squadron. But his real claim to fame is becoming the deputy group commander of NAS at Mag 42 in Alameda. Because back then, when you made 06 colonel, basically you got booted out the door because there weren't any billets. But they created this position called deputy group commander. And he was the first deputy group commander, but a lot of us thought, that doesn't sound neat enough. So we came up with the term Air Lord. And I got a Knights of Columbus hat. We took off some of the stuff on it and slapped the Marine Corps emblem on it, and he would wear that at the club. And of course, back in the old days, if you see the new, there's a new reason how you buy drinks according to the new Top Gun Maverick. But back in the old days, you showed up at the O Club with your hat on, with your cover on, and you bought the bar a round of drinks. So of course he came up with his hat on. He automatically bought a round of drinks that way. But I don't have. I mean, I've flown with Loran a lot. I didn't fly with him commercially because I went with a different airline. But he was a great guy to fly with, a great wingman. I mean, a great leader. And sometimes if we had not the greatest airplanes in the world at Alameda, so sometimes you'd lose your radio, and so all of a sudden the wingman became the leader, and he had to hang on. But I had one flight after I punched out of an airplane in '72, and I was basically recovering, so I was down for about 9 months, and I hadn't been flying a whole bunch, and technically back then we finally got T's, and you're supposed to, if you haven't flown in 30 days, you're supposed to go out and fly with the two-seat airplane. Well, it turns out that it hadn't been 30 days since I flew. And I remember they were looking out there, and it was kind of lousy weather, and I think Brian O'Neill was the OPSO, I'm not sure who it was, but they're sitting there, and I was going to make a section go on Loran, which is basically you take off, and you stay together because the clouds are such. You need 700-foot ceiling, technically to circle if you come back. So I was going to stick with them when we blasted off. And they were going to call the tower and tell them to cancel out, but they said, Loran's leading, and Lucky's on his wing, and he's got a couple hours in the A4. Let him go. So, and as usual, Loran had a solid lead, and so it's one of the memorable flights. But I'm going to talk about Loran was also a Porsche aficionado. He had a 1959 356 convertible D, probably one of the rarest Porsches ever made, and I happen to have a Porsche. I have a '69, and TR, who's here, he had two of them actually. He had a '68 European S, and Ken Ryan, who's not here, had a car, a Porsche '72. And we used to go when you guys lived at Lucas Valley Road. I don't know if you remember people way back when, but there was no speed limit on Lucas Valley Road. It was 65 because the standard speed limit. And if you had a very good race car, you could possibly do 65 on Lucas Valley Road. But we managed to get close. And so Loran, we used to stop by and see him, and they'd go zipping around with him. And one day Loran is coming back from training in United, and he's sitting in first class with this guy. And the guy also lived in Lucas Valley Road. He said, I said, yeah. He said, you live Lucas Valley? Yeah, I live on Lucas Valley Road. He said, yeah, some of my friends, he said, they come up here and visit me every night. We used to do this actually every Memorial Day. We'd call it the Memorial Trophy Run. We'd go up and have oysters at Bodega or something. He's up there. Marshall, that's right. But he said, yeah, these guys, he said, yeah, there's one, one's white, one's Bahama yellow, and the other guy said, and the other's blue. So I guess we ran him off the road or something. Okay, I was going to read some. I had something I was going to read, but I don't want to take up too much time. But Loran was just a great guy. I really enjoyed his leadership. I've known him probably as long as I was in the reserves. I mean, he was as far as I was concerned, he was probably the plank holder of Alameda there. And I'd like to thank Kay for her friendship, and I'm was over her house a lot back when we used to do a lot of stuff with the Sonoma Marines, now the Wine Country Marines and such. And so there's a friend of ours who didn't make it here, Bill Wilson, and he says he has this vision of pilot's heaven. And every airplane ever made is on the ramp. You know, on any given day, you can fly any airplane you want. And I wonder what airplane he's flying today, and my guess is it's an F-8.